Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, Attention and ADHD coach Jeff Copper, and we're here today with Melissa Orlov, an ADHD marriage consultant. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm happy to be talking to you.
Melissa's by far my favorite person to talk on this particular topic. We've done lots of videos on ADHD marriage and relationships, and today we want to talk about hurtful conversations.
Yep.
Tell me about that a little bit. What is a hurtful conversation?
Well, I probably, for the people who are watching this, I actually don't need to define that.
Okay, all right.
There are lots of them. But so, for example, not feeling like your partner is listening to you or being dismissed, or perhaps having a person that's getting into a rage or is being completely overcome by emotion is not really working on the issues. Becomes very personal.
You're so articulate. When you describe that, I'm like, why did I ask that question? So, if you're watching, we're speaking to you. So from your perspective and working with people, tell me about how you deal with that or how you work with couples on it.
Well, I mean, first of all, you have to understand that a lot of times these very hurtful conversations are covering up something that's underneath that is a much bigger issue. For example, not feeling respected or not feeling as if your partner is really accepting some of the issues that you have and not knowing how to get around those things. But then the question is, okay, so you have these huge hurtful conversations. What do you do about them in order to be able to heal again? And that process is really one of going through and starting to, first of all, you have to identify what some of the key issues are. Lots of times in ADHD-impacted relationships, it has to do with ADHD symptoms that are there and then responses to those symptoms. So both partners are implicated in the hurt. So if I were feeling hurt, for example, I would still have to look at myself and say, how am I contributing to that interaction that's creating that? But in any event, then you start to look at, okay, how do we manage the ADHD better? How do we manage the responses to those symptoms better to calm the relationship down? And there are also other things that you can do to sort of interrupt some of these hurtful episodes. You and I have talked before about flooding, for example. And that's one where your brain, you get into a rage, you get completely emotionally overwhelmed. The way to interrupt that so that you don't cause the hurt in the first place is to use a verbal cue to stop that. As soon as you start to feel yourself ramping up, you stop it before you get into it. There are a lot of tactics that are just like that.
You said something that I just want to go back and highlight a little bit. And you said it's a process. And I think that it's not an outcome, it's not a snapshot, it's like a moving picture. It takes a period of time to work through this. And I know you do a lot of work with couples to help them through this process, and you've got a lot of tools. And to me, I want to emphasize that a little bit because you don't walk in, it is a process, and you need to be patient. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. I mean, hurt takes a long time to overcome. Among other things, you stop trusting your partner if you have been hurt by that partner a lot, and trust takes a long time to rebuild. But you don't rebuild it by just saying, okay, I'm going to try harder. You really have to get at what are the dynamics of the ADHD relationship or the ADHD impacted relationship, and then start to smooth it out and understand each other. I've been doing a lot of work lately with sort of talking to people about what I call it's not what I call, what's called conflict intimacy. Okay. And conflict intimacy is developing the skill set so that partners will talk with each other non-aggressively and listen to each other non-defensively. And part of the reason I focus on that so much is that once you develop that skill, and it is a skill set, so you can learn it, that then leads you into affection and closeness and intimacy. And those are the kinds of things that you need in your relationship to get past the hurt.
One of the reasons I'm such a fan of Melissa is embedded this. I've talked so much ADHD is a self-regulation issue, and being able to pause and stop and override this and do this is a process. And I love the tools and stuff that you talk about to do that because it's really, it's important. And I love you always have a path and you have some tools to kind of lead them through it. So,
thank you. I do. The other thing I want to. There's one more thing. Can I add one more thing?
Please.
It's okay. So there's also a lot of work that John Gottman has done on how to have good fights, and also, very importantly, how to repair from fights. And I would urge people to look into that work as well, because his research shows that it's not the number of fights that you have, it's how you repair from those fights that helps you start to heal. So that there are lots of different strategies that he offers too.
Back to process is how you heal from that process, which is really important. So, Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
We hope you enjoyed this edition. If you've enjoyed this and others, please subscribe to our channel. We release a new tip each week. Take care.